Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're diving into something pretty universal and deeply painful: betrayal. We're going to dissect it by looking at three incredibly personal, real-life stories that show just how fast the trust we think is solid can actually crumble into dust. And let's just start with this quote. Man, it just hits you, right? It's from one of the people whose story we're following, and it really just sets the tone for everything. We're talking about a level of hurt that completely rewires how you hear the most basic words of affection. That's the kind of fallout we're going to get into. So the big question is, how does anyone get to that point? Well, to really get a grip on how trust can just completely disintegrate, we're going to follow three totally different stories. And this is the crazy part, you'll see they all follow a common, painful, and honestly a surprisingly predictable pattern. Okay, so this slide is basically our map of who's who. First up, we've got a woman who was betrayed by not just her boyfriend, but her best friend of 12 years. Ouch. Then there's a college student who gets tangled up in a really messy situation with two different girlfriends. And finally, a guy who was literally planning to propose only to find out a shocking secret about his partner of 3 years. These are our key players. You know, betrayal rarely just blows up out of nowhere. It's usually more like a slow burn. It kicks off with these little unsettling signs, the first tiny cracks in a foundation that you absolutely thought was rock solid. And that's the thing. Each of our narrators thought they were safe. One had a best friend she'd known for 12 years. Another was putting money away for an engagement ring after 3 years together. The third had this amazing college romance that just felt like it was meant to be. For all of them, the trust felt complete, unbreakable. But then, the red flags start popping up. And what's wild is how similar they are across these totally different situations. For one person, it was a phone that suddenly started buzzing at 2 a.m. every single night. For another, it was the weird coincidence of her boyfriend and her best friend being unreachable at the exact same times. These are the little moments where the doubt starts to creep. And this right here, this just captures that feeling perfectly. It's from our first narrator, and it really nails that nagging intuition. It's not about having any proof yet. It's just that gut feeling that the story you're being told just doesn't line up with what you're sensing. And here comes the really crucial next step. When our narrators actually brought up their worries, what did they get? Denial, deflection. They were told they were being paranoid or that they were blowing things way out of proportion. One was even told the lies were her fault because she was too insecure. This is textbook gaslighting, a way to dodge the truth by making you feel like you're the one who's crazy. So all this, it's like a pressure cooker, right? And eventually, something has to give. That gut feeling finally slams head-on into cold, hard proof. This is the climax, that one single, devastating moment when the whole thing just explodes. For our narrators, it wasn't some slow drip reveal. The truth came out in these shocking, almost movie-like moments of discovery that just changed everything in a heartbeat. Okay, just picture this for a second. Our first narrator, she's worried, she's suspicious, so she grabs her boyfriend's phone to call her best friend. And when her friend answers, this is what she hears. "Hello, baby." 2 words. And in those 2 words, her entire world just collapsed. The 2 people she trusted most were together. In our third story, the confrontation was somehow even more chilling. He presents clear, undeniable proof that she's cheating, and there are no tears, no apologies. No, he just gets a laugh and this cold, sarcastic response. It's not just admitting it, it's practically rubbing his face in it. And the deception behind that taunt, it's just staggering. It wasn't one other person. His girlfriend of 3 years, the woman he was saving up to marry, had been seeing 4 other men, and one of them was his own best friend. Unbelievable. So after an explosion like that, you've got to deal with the wreckage. And once the truth was finally out in the open, each of our narrators took a dramatically different path to try and make it through the fallout. And here you can see 3 totally different ways of coping. Our first narrator, she went for calculated revenge. The second guy, who, to be fair, had also cheated, was just left completely broken, having lost both women in his life. And our third narrator, he went for the clean break. New city, therapy, total system reset. And what's so fascinating is how things came full circle. Months down the line, after she'd been fired by her boss, ghosted by another lover, and dumped by the others, the ex-girlfriend from story number 3 calls him up, crying, begging to work things out. But for him, the damage was done. There was just no going back. His response says it all. Some betrayals are so big, they don't just damage things, they erase them completely. Some things just can't be fixed.
Okay, so that brings us to the echo, the part that lingers long after the drama is over. What are the long-term effects of a deception this deep? What's really left behind?
The real takeaway here is that the story doesn't just end when the relationship does. For these people, the betrayal left these deep, lasting scars, a fundamental inability to even trust the words, "I love you," anymore, a need for therapy to unpack it all, and that painful lesson that sometimes the only way forward is to just completely delete people you once loved from your life. And in the end, these stories really force us to ask a tough question. And it's not just about romantic partners. It's about the foundation of all our relationships. They show us that trust is this weird thing. It can be incredibly strong, but it's also terrifyingly fragile. And once it's gone, well, what's left is a question that can take a lifetime to answer.